you, I know. I'm wearing 12 yards of Ankara fabric from Africa. I'm wearing 12 yards of fabric. I feel like doing whatever I want to do with my life. Yes, y'all beautiful. Look at each other. Take a moment to be grateful. Yes. This is my niece, Brielle. Brielle, have you ever seen me perform before? No. Okay, this is your first time. Have fun. Before I begin performing, I want to say it's really special to be here. This is my third visit to Flint. The Princess of Flint, Marissa. Do y'all know Marissa? Took me around this summer. I got to see a lot of Flint and meet a lot of people. And it's such an honor to be here with you. I'm deeply humbled that I'm able to show this work and that the staff of the FIA did what is really courageous work, which is rose to the occasion of my ambition, which is sometimes not always easy to do. Institutional courage is a real thing. How often have you wanted to try something new or put a new idea into work at your place and people say, that's not the way we do things, and they just stop there. But I got to work with people who were like, well, we gonna try that. Yeah, we never done that before, but it's been done, so we can do that. So I'm grateful for the spirit of yes. And I also wanted to just credit the poem that you saw in the photograph that was on the screen. Does anyone recognize that poem? It's just 3 lines, and it's a segment from a poem from the 5th century? I'd have to look it up. It's a Rumi poem. And it says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. That Rumi. I'm going to perform some poems for you today, and I'm also going to make a couple of poems with you. There are 2 chairs right here. At some point, I'm going to ask if anyone would like to come up here. And I'm going to ask you to give me a series of ingredients. I'm going to ask you for a name, the name of a person, a color, and a purpose. And the way I would like you to consider the purpose is to imagine within the infinite and mysteriously edgeless power that is the life force that is within the lungs that we are all breathing within the room today. Within the power of that life force, I want you to invest your imagination and your spirit into the idea that the poem I make for you would have the power to do something just by dint of it happening and being heard. And if you could determine the power of that poem, if you could direct it strategically, sharply, and intentionally, what would you want it to do? So you could come up here and say, the name that I'm choosing is Daniel, the color is green, and the power is flying. And I'm telling you this now because some of you will probably think, I want to do that, but I'm scared. All right, so I'm giving you time to work yourself up to it. And I'm going to give you time to think about it with your heart. Cool? If my hands were anything other than hands, if my hands were anything other than hands, if my hands were anything other than hands, they would be two shooting stars galloping light across the galaxy. They would be a twin fandango of diamond-studded fingerprints hopscotching a radiant neon merengue of light from each folded velvet edge of midnight into every tiny galaxy of 14-karat suns. My shooting star hands would reach and leap and turn the faces of every burning celestial pedestrian, star-grazed and gazing, bright-eyed, amazed, and awe-struck as my shooting star hands whip by in a flurry of pirouettes, spitting sparks and spilling light. Like each finger is a silver big flip light of flicking flames of hope into the open faces of those twinkling pale and incandescent sisters whose tears glisten and litter the blistering avenue like sequins. I say now, can you see it? How my shooting star hands would wow and bow them right out of their everyday orbits, turn their glowing dashboard Virgin Mary faces into an illuminated orchestra of rubies and gladiolas right before your very eyes. If my hands were anything other than hands, they would be a street corner jazz quintet. They would be a 10-fingered symphony of saxophones, trombones, clarinets, and trumpets, just wailing, rowdy, loud, and proud. Right out from under my fingernails, the song would swell, and it would sing, and it would just ring itself from lampposts and reach into people's houses. It would bring mothers and sons come to dance in the middle of the street with fathers and daughters, and perhaps, if my hands were a big bad jazz band, there would be no vicious, evil, cruel death on the avenue, because I would send my fingers flying in a furious hurricane of eighth notes to slap right into the faces of any slick-tongued, gun-toting mamma jamma who would come to steal my brother's breath. We would be all song and dance and celebration, just the way we are supposed to be. If my hands were anything other than hands, they would be two magic wands. They would be 10 abracadabra fingers for me to bring back every bebop, biscuit, baking grandmother that we ever lost. Every sweet and remarkable friend that we didn't realize was either sweet or remarkable until death stole them from under our breath while we was looking over our shoulder at the bus stop, and then they was just gone. And for a moment, if my hands were magic wands, I would just bring them back. For a moment, we could have them. We could hold them. We could look into the lost sister, friend, mother, brother, cousin's eyes. We could look them into their eyes. And we could wrap the soul of our arms around them. And we could say the things that we had been a little bit too afraid to say. And for a moment, we could have them. And we could hold them for a moment. Things would be so much gooder. So much better than ever before. If my hands were anything other than hands, they would be an entire conversation of miracles for me to cure you of any cancer that ever ailed you. They would be a conjure woman's cupboard of spells and incantations, and I would reach right through your breast done, and have forgiveness leaping from person to person to person to person, more infectious than HIV, tuberculosis, and stupidity put together. If my hands were anything other than hands, they would be 2 turntables and a microphone. But mostly, if my hands were anything other than hands, they would be 2 shooting stars galloping light across the galaxy. These twin miracles, these deeply intentional, profoundly miraculous hands, these thumbs, that make all the other animals so envious. Oh, it's just us in the black hole. With these opposable thumbs, oh, these hands, and how hard it is sometimes to look into the mirror of our own hands and try not to spit. How hard it is sometimes to just recognize how beautiful we are all by ourselves. And if my hands were anything other than hands, they would be mirrors. And I would shine them right up to your face so you could see yourself as immutably remarkable as God made you. And you would never try to hate yourself to death ever again. If my hands were anything other than hands, they would be an entire centuries of free admission to every museum from East Coast to West Coast. So, why are museums so amazing? Somebody tell me why it's so glorious to walk into a museum in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon and stand in a room filled with art that seems like it's breathing and touching your skin. Oh, the way it is to breathe inside of a museum on a free Tuesday afternoon makes you think different things about what it's possible for you to do with your very own humanity. My mother was the first real thug that I knew. She drew and grew a slew of ruthless and wild-winged weapons from the swell of her hips. She raised us up, aimed our faces to the stars. She said, "See, there you are, shining back at yourself from a million brilliant light years away. Isn't that amazing? You came all this way to stand in the house of your own shine." So don't believe them when they tell you that the very best that you can do and be with your life is cute. Do not believe them when they tell you that the very best that you can do with your intellect is prettier than the rest of the girls or desperate enough to die trying for it. Because those are lies. See? The truth is, there is an entire universe of ideas alive inside of you right now. And they are spinning on the axis of your breath. So rise up and let them out. And when they offer you the opportunity to be mediocre, refuse them. Tell them you have dreams to dream, and songs to sing, and ideas to bring to life, and chances are it ain't gonna happen if you're too busy standing on the corner, holding up the block, looking for another bullet to dodge, trying to be hard. Tell them that you're a champion. Here is how you can live your life. My mom says, this is why you give you. She said, be creative and be brave. This way you'll always find that you have guts and good ideas. Be creative and be brave. That is a way to live a life, Lucretia. That is a way that you can live your life, Lucretia. Fight, Lucretia. You were never meant to have freedom and resources on this land. Lucretia, you were never supposed to have the agency of your own hands. You are black and you have a vagina. You were meant to simply be property. Lucretia, see? Your mother put a Q in your name. Because the day that you were born, the sun shone over her shoulder and the brightest noonday light came spinning and sparking easy as a hot comb sweeping through the electric mist of an old GE stove. You came to your mama on the spirit breath of your ancestors. You arrived in her dreams on a boat. And so she put a Q into your name because names with Q are rare. And I am sorry, Lucretia, that your third grade teacher never learned to pronounce your name correctly and tried to shorten it, just call you Corey or something like that. And the way you stood up to your mom and you said, Mama, people make fun of my name. It has an apostrophe and a Q. And they can never say it right. And she says, well, they learned to say Tchaikovsky. They learned to say Karenina. They will learn to say your name. Your mother put a Q in your name. Because the day that you were born, a storm moved in on the east, and over the city there bloomed a swooning, rising bloom of roses from the swell of her feet. She said, my child, she will come and break the day into a million bright little pieces. You're going to surprise them all, Lucretia. I put a Q in your name so you would stain them with your glory, child. You were never supposed to have freedom and resources on this land, but you were born with liberty, and liberty is the soul's right to breathe. So drive the boat, steer the boat, fly the boat, ride the boat that is your very own spine, Lucretia. They will find you in time. You will come hip-hop. You will come old, square stories from the griot. You will come rising up the trees. You will open your mouth and your teachers will sneeze because you will change them with the speed of light. You will come glory, child. There are some things that cannot be taken away. And liberty, see, is the soul's right to breathe, so glide and fly and breathe. We forget how miraculous that it is. We even made it through the womb. So many seeds don't. Sometimes we forget how miraculous it is that our lungs even open up and expand to allow us to breathe. And I came all this way, you see. I came to tell you that I love you. And when I say I love you, I'm not pretending that it's going to be an easy thing, because it's not. I mean, chances are I could lose my mind. I could lose my mind. You could find me on a street corner. You would have to come for me. You, with your soul and your way and your truth and your light. I came to tell you that I believe in you more than Kanye West believes in himself. Can I tell you that I believe in you, Lucretia? I believe in you the way that Oprah Winfrey believes in the power of books. I believe in you the way that Beyonce believes in the power of a strong fan and a tight hair weave. I do believe in you the way that Barack Obama believes in the power of the strategic pause. that someone will simply say are shards of glass, and oftentimes people mistake diamonds for other little bits, and that's their loss. It's not your job to convince them of your worth. Do whatever you want to do. Be like Billy Strayhorn. 2-chord ostinato in lieu of the expected traditional chord sequence. The ostinato consisted of a tonic chord over a 3-bar bass line. The bass line gave way to alternative fifth, and they had tried to tell Billy Strayhorn that he couldn't play jazz or classical music because he was black and he didn't have the mental acuity. And he was 17, and he wrote Lush Life. So do whatever you want to do, Lucretia. Let your fingers walk up to the moon. Do whatever you want to do. Fingers walking and talking up the moon, looping and swinging sunlit spirals of light. You have lungs. So use them, right? So who would like to come up? I'm going to make one poem for somebody. So what's going to happen is y'all are all going to come up to me in minutes. Because I've done it 5 minutes, and you're going to be like, man, I wanted to go, but my boyfriend was like, nah, that's going to be on YouTube. So. They're coming. See, look, I didn't even have to do the thing where I wait 7 seconds. Do we look good together? Y'all want to get a picture? We'll stand for a picture after. It is meant to be. Hi, I'm Vanessa. Hi, Jackie. How many of you here know Jackie? Are you the mayor of Flint? How many of you have ever heard Jackie sing? Jackie said nobody. And she said, and they shall not. And how many heard Jackie rap? Jackie declines the rap opportunity. All right, so that people can see you, I wasn't able to go in this. That's the sound of cotton, which is the fabric of our lives. Right? Thank you, Black people. Just whenever you touch cotton, see cotton, rub up against cotton, throw your arms up for Black folks. Actually, just go around thinking Black folks all the time anyway, yo. We have passed due on the gratitude, which could also come in the form of reparations. I don't want to limit anybody's imagination. Reparations could look like completely free college and university. And the same health care that your congressmen and senators get. So, giving a shout out to all my people still in jail for selling marijuana. It's time to let them go home. Can you imagine that day? Oh, I know I'm Jackie. Thank you for being with me. Just hold my hand. Can you imagine get out of jail free marijuana day? That would be so beautiful, right? Because, like, who's invested? Isn't it like Bob Dole invested deeply in marijuana farms? Well, Dwayne needs some of that too. So. All right. Just something to think about as we head into another presidential election season. It would be, the fast food restaurants would just love get out of jail free. there one day. I know I can't tell you. Okay. Did you know that you were supposed to come up? You knew first? Yes. Good. I'm glad. So we have a little bit of time together. I asked for a name, a color, and a power purpose. Are you ready? All right, what you got?
The name is Mary Alice.
The name is Mary Alice. Okay. What's the color? The color is red. What is the purpose power? To serve. The heartbeat serves. The heartbeat serves. This infinite constellation of miracles that sends the electric pulse up and out and through the body in service of the breath, in service of the lungs, in service of every limb of the body, in service of the kidneys. We rise to the dawn with our feet, touching this brilliant earth that holds the blood and the body and the bones and the holy, red, and abundant spirits of our grandmothers, 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 grandmothers. All of the Mary Alices on this day, and from this day forward, and from all of the days before, here we are in the simultaneity of time, past, present, and future, alive and rise with our bones and our souls here and present in this room. And may the seed of absolutely clean and clear and abundant and deeply sharp and deliberate intellectual service and spiritual service and service of truth and service of clarity, in the service of the light that rises in the eyes of every child that I met at Burson Fieldhouse this summer. We danced, and the dance alone became a service. The step and the breath and the light and the way the kids cheered me off of the rooftop of their souls. We come with this life and with this breath, and it can be very confusing sometimes to live in the world when it tells us that the very, very best way that we can serve is to buy things. If we are going to buy anything, let us buy from the bank of miracles. Let us purchase first from the well of our own soul, from which rises the voice and the name and the neon stream of spirit that gives our limbs, each specific, deliberate, miraculous limb of our hands, a reason to know, a way to know the reason that they hold this life at all. May the service, may the reason that you have lungs make itself clear. Mary Alice, may it rise and may it bloom. May it become a cocoon as though a butterfly, the way that one can ingest one's own self, turn the lessons into a new way, a new language of being in his time for a new and a greater service of humanity to seize us, to take us over this electricity, a name way brand new that will come and soon and bloom and take over the dream at night. May no fear prevent Mary Alice these golden ways of laying your service forth one footstep precious, red dreams of edgeless, miraculous, completely just. And may the service be of the breath, and the lungs, and the bodies, and the soul. May it call home in the boat of our ancestors. May it come clear and ring true, and may it be brave. May it be brave as the moment that you stood from your seat and you walked down the aisle that you knew it was going to be you. May it be as brave as the moment you whispered to me, I'm nervous. May it be as brave as doing the thing that you are afraid to do anyway. May it be as brave as taking a breath when you think you can't take another breath again. has the power of listening. May it be as brave as love. And here we are. We are just all here together. Earthly siblings, gravity-bound, oxygen-breathing beings of carbon, starshine, and dust. We are each 99 to 99.9% genetically identical. We are earthly siblings. Turn to the person next to you and say, hello, relative. We are all here together. Repeat after me, audience. Repeat after me. Brave as Jackie.
Brave as Jackie.
Brave as Tracy.
Brave as Tracy.
Brave as Marissa.
Brave as Marissa.
Brave as Brielle.
Brave as Brielle.
Take your right hand and touch your own heart. And say, brave as me.
Brave as me.
May these lungs, may this breath serve.
May these lungs and this breath serve.
May these lungs and these breaths serve.
May these lungs and this breath serve.
May these lungs and these breaths serve.
These lungs and these breaths serve.
Take a moment in the quiet to thank your ancestors and to thank the people who are not here. Take a moment to give gratitude for yourself, for driving on icy roads this week, for showing up when you needed to show up. And take a moment to give a round of applause to the brave one, to our Jackie. So thank you all again, and have a wonderful night. Enjoy the food. I'm not the person who's saying goodbye to you. Thank you from the stage. But I want to say again what an honor it is to be here, and I give thanks to everyone who answered an email or a phone call, who made it possible for us to be here. Because that's a lot of people it takes to do stuff. And for all the people who made it possible for me to show work. So please go see the exhibition. Before I go, I wish I was done. I wish I was less long-winded. But I wanted to say that I love you. Love you more. And I want to say that I believe in the power of love. And I believe in the power of you. And I believe when King said that love is the only truly creative, redemptive, transformative force in the world. And I invite you, with the bravery that you feel in yourself, to enjoy the joy that it is to be here and beautiful and loving the people that you're around. Enjoy yourselves. Have a wonderful night.
What are you going to tell people tomorrow when they say, what did you do last night? And then you try to describe what we just experienced. Wasn't this great? She's not here. Only the beginning of the evening. 2 new exhibitions are opening. There's a big reception for you out there. And there's a lot of togetherness. So let's go. Thanks for coming.